Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Shift to Fintech, the Cygnus Podcast. Here at Cygnus Payments, we're on a journey to becoming a fintech company, and I am Steve Trevillo. I'm the president of Cygnus Payments.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brad Davidson, Director of Business Development here at Cygnus.
Brad, we've got some exciting news to share with our partners. We're officially launching our Cygnus Capital product. No capital, no problem, the new way to grow.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. In tandem with the launch of Compass POS, which is our AI-powered point-of-sale system, we are introducing Cygnus Capital. So it's a seamless financing platform that helps our merchants to access working capital and equipment financing right inside the point of sale. It's going to strengthen cash flow for the merchants and fuel their growth.
Absolutely. So let's take a minute and just break this down, because with Cygnus Capital, there are so many different programs that we're going to be launching. Cygnus Capital, just as a financing solution, we're rolling out across multiple product lines. But the main product line that we're going to start with, and I think the biggest differentiator right away, is giving our merchants the ability to buy Compass POS with no upfront investment. This program is kind of new to the industry. It's kind of there. It's called a HaaS program, or hardware as a solution.
Okay. So they can get a new point of sale system with no upfront capital.
Exactly. No CapEx. Instead of cutting a big check on day one, which is also kind of friction to entering into buying a POS, everything is rolled into a simple monthly payment, like SaaS, or software as a solution, but for hardware and services, what we call a HaaS SaaS model.
Okay. So what that model does is it lowers the barrier to entry, right? Whether they're an established business or a brand new startup looking to get their solution in place, they're going to be able to get up and running without a huge financial burden.
Isn't that the key? I mean, small business owners are so constricted with their capital. They're always trying to figure out how to put something over here or put something over there and buy different things. But now they don't have to wait. Now they don't have to save up their money for that goal. They can get the equipment. They can get our new POS Compass AI driven. And they can get that latest POS and terminals and printers and all those services bundled together in a subscription model. Immediate access, no outlay of capital, one low monthly price.
Yeah, and really, Steve, that's kind of the way the entire world is working right now. Whether it's Netflix and what comes to mind for me is most recently, I got my daughter plays soccer. So we've got this app that we use. We bought the smart ball. And once you have it, it's SaaS, right? It's like $18 a month. They have access to all these training classes, et cetera. So it allows the merchants to pay monthly. They don't have to come out of pocket with a huge expenditure. Really going to help them to streamline things, get the solution that they want in place instead of settling for something that's just cheap.
All right. More to come on HaaS later. There are other product lines that are coming with Cygnus Capital, and probably one of the most important, besides Compass POS, that we're bringing a financing solution to is our merchant cash advance model, which is MCA. Brad, tell us all about merchant cash advance.
Yeah, merchant cash advances are an extremely powerful, I would say, non-traditional form of lending, right? So a lot of businesses find themselves in a situation where they need funding. Maybe it's a restaurant that their freezer went out or a stove stopped working. And in order to keep their business running, they need to get capital and they need to get it quickly. It takes away from the need of having to go into a bank, lengthy applications, underwriting time. Maybe they're a brand new business and they don't have any financials to show and say, hey, we've been in business for this long, we've been generating this much revenue, right? It can be a difficult place to be for a merchant. I always tell my clients, look, it's maybe not the first option that you want to look at if everything is in alignment, right? But that's not always the case for businesses. So, sometimes things are not in alignment and they are not in a good position to go out and get a $10,000 loan. So an MCA is a perfect way for them to access that funding and access it quickly. I mean, underwriting time is within 24 hours and funding time is within 24 hours. So extremely powerful.
That's the key. So that's a great point, Brad. And we got to think about a life in the in the mind of a merchant or a restaurant owner in this case. They come into work in the morning and, at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're getting ready for the day. And all of a sudden their cooler goes out and they have no refrigeration. And, one thing, if they were to go to bank and say, hey, I need $10,000 to upgrade it or replace it, that could take weeks. That could take, a month before they would get that money. They're out of business. What we do is we go ahead and we're going to give them that money, like you said, right away within 24 hours. They don't have to wait. They're able to get that money. And then here's the key. They pay that back based on their sales. So if they're having particularly high level of sales, they'll pay a little bit more back. But if there's a slow period or whatever it might be, then they don't have to pay as much back. It's based on a percentage of a person's sales. So it's based on the credit card sales, not all their sales.
Yeah. So the repayment flexes and ebbs and flows with the revenue that they're generating. Like you said, Steve, if they have, a couple of slow days, they're going to pay back less. If they have some really good days, they're going to be able to really knock off some good chunks of repayment. Flexibility is huge for small businesses, especially if they're dealing with ups and downs, which most businesses are. Exactly.
And it gives them the ability to act quickly without taking away from their daily work. It's if they need to grab cash to grab an opportunity, new equipment, extra inventory, marketing, they can do it without being tied up in the traditional lending red tape.
Yeah, so that's really the beauty of Cygnus Capital, right? It's not just one product, one option. It's a variety of solutions, hardware as a service, MCAs, even embedded finance offerings.
Yep. So let's talk about timing of the product releases and then we'll get to the next one. So the HAS model will come out with the release of Compass. We are testing that with other POS that we offer. We do offer 8 point of sale systems to all of our partners and to our merchants, direct and through partner network. With that being said, we also will have the merchant cash advance will be available starting in the next 2 weeks to our existing customer base and to any new customers who would like to come to us. So the next thing we have to talk about after HAS and after merchant cash advance are embedded finance models. What does that mean? Well, embedded finance means on our POS, on Compass POS that will be released on October 15th, there will be embedded finance capital solutions integrated right into the merchant experience. Now, that means they'll be able to click on one button, do their merchant cash advance application, which doesn't take hardly any time at all, and they'll be able to get that funding almost immediately within a matter of 6 to 7 hours. So the embedded finance feature will also have further products that come in down the line, such as people who have high tickets and wants to offer different finance models for their partners. But Brad, turning that back over into embedded in finance, talk about how that is integrated right into the merchant experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely powerful, right? You mentioned you walk in one morning, your cooler's gone out. Okay, business owners are they live in a life of chaos, right? And they live in a life of putting out fires and handling things that come up, and that's where they thrive. So you imagine yourself in that situation, right? And you find a need where you've got to get some money quick. You don't have to call your sales rep. You don't have to call the support line. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone of why you need this or why you need that. You simply walk up to the front counter, you get onto your point of sale system, and you go straight into the application process.
Yep, and that's the future we're building, right, Brad? And it's not just about merchant-facing tools. Like I said, it's going to be about consumer financing. It's going to be about retailers buy now, pay later. If they want it, we're going to offer that. It's going to be about just the flexible payment options at checkout for that consumer. That's all part of the embedded finance ecosystem that we're starting to generate.
Yeah, it's not just about solving today's needs. It's about positioning merchants for the future of commerce.
Yep, we're just trying to embed that infrastructure right to where payment financing, right where they live. We want to bring it to them so they don't have to go searching for that.
Hey, let's circle back to the hardware as a service for a moment. I think this is where I can see some fast adoption. Walk me through what this looks like for a merchant.
Oh, that's amazing. So we are in the process of finalizing this setup. It's pretty slick. So let's take an example. Coffee shop. Coffee shop wants to install Compass POS with all the terminals, cash drawers, maybe in a KDS, kitchen display system. Traditionally, for that setup for a couple stations, the KDS, et cetera, it's about $5,000 to $5,500 to get everything installed.
Yeah, it's a huge hit, right?
Yep, exactly. With Cygnus Capital, instead of paying that in one lump sum, they sign up for a monthly subscription. It's not a lease, it's a subscription. And that payment covers the hardware, the software, the warranty, the ongoing upgrades. They're always current, they're always protected, never stuck with an outdated system. And that's the great thing about our generative AI is our Compass POS will develop along with the maturity of the company. So the longer you keep our Compass POS, because it is generative AI, the smarter it's going to get and the more streamlined it's going to get to run one's business. And that's why it's so important to go with this model to be able to live with a living, breathing point of sale system that will develop over a period of time.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense from the business perspective, right? It's from the business owner specifically. You're starting a new business, you're factoring in all the costs. You've got to do your build out, your counters, your kitchen, your tables, your chairs, your floors, right? The list goes on and on. Signage. I mean, it's just never ending. So having one less cost to add to that. And like you said, I mean, it could be $5, $10, $15, $20,000 depending on your needs. It fits right into the budget and it's predictable without surprises.
Yeah. And, here's the other thing. I'm not going to try to, this is about Cygnus Capital, but I'm so excited about Compass. I just got to talk about it every chance I can. So as the technology evolves, our AI is called Astra. Astra will evolve, right? And so one of the biggest problems that most merchants have when they switch a POS system is about the time it takes to train. So there's a lot of barriers to how, to enter in the POS. Financing is a barrier. How are you going to finance it? How are you going to pay at it? And then training and onboarding of the machine with Compass AI or with Astra, the training's handled by the POS, which I feel like is a fantastic feature. But going back into it, and I know, Brad, you wanted to get a little bit more into the merchant cash advance.
Yeah, let's expand a bit more on MCAs. I think our audience would benefit from some real world use cases.
Okay, absolutely. So We have a boutique clothing store that recently asked, they want an opportunity to buy some extra inventory for the upcoming holiday seasons. Believe it or not, retail is planning for Christmas right now, and those orders will be going out at the end of September, and they needed extra capital to fund some retail. So they just said, I need $15,000 cash advance to bring in this extra inventory. With that cash advance, they're going to access that capital today and then pay it back gradually over a period of time, even as their sales start to multiply with this new inventory. So they'll be able to pay it off with extra sales, not existing sales.
Yeah, that's a great example. Another would be, a restaurant that has maybe become extremely popular, but unfortunately they're realizing that they're at capacity. Right. Every night, the restaurant's full. So summer's rolling around. Maybe they have the grand idea, right, to increase their capacity. They want to build an outdoor patio, add some tables, add some chairs. Maybe they don't have all of that cash on hand, right? In the restaurant industry, they're always flipping cash. They always have to buy more food material and whatever else they need to run their business, right? So they can pull the cash out. They can proceed with their renovations, their updates to the business. They know that it's going to fill up quickly and increase their sales and increase their revenue. Like you said, while they're doing that, they're paying back the funding, and straight from their sales. It just gives them the fuel to make those things happen.
Yep. And because the repayment is tied to their sales, it's not crushing them. If, for instance, they've got a slow week, well, those amounts are only proportioned to their sales volume. So therefore, in a traditional loan, you got a fixed monthly payment. No matter what, you got to make that $1,000 payment or whatever it might be. And that could substantially hurt your margins or your sales or your cash flow. With us, it's based on your ability to pay, based on your receipts, and only your credit card receipts. So that doesn't include cash receipts or debit card. It's your credit card receipts, what we settle on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's basically selling your future sales.
A small percentage of your future sales, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Steve, we talked about embedded finance earlier. Let's paint a picture of what that could look like a year or two from now.
Yep. So just want to be clear, the embedded finance option will only be available on our Compass POS design. Okay. Let me just kind of picture this for a second. A merchant logs into Cygnus Compass POS. There's a dashboard that we're naming. I'm not ready to throw that name out there yet, but there'll be a name. It's going to be something like, the deck, right? Because it's all based on maritime activity. But anyways, they'll be able to see their daily sales, customer analytics, and right there into that model, there will be an option to access working capital. Just a couple clicks. Click here, a couple little pieces of information, and they get approved and funded within 24 hours. I'm going to give you an example. I have a friend who recently started a business and needed to buy some more inventory, and there was an embedded finance option when he went to the purveyor to buy, his supplies, and it was about $17,000. It literally took him 4 hours to get the money in his bank account. That's what we're aspiring to be through Compass.
So what you're saying is the embedded finance in the future, it's not just for the merchants, it's for their customers.
Correct.
Okay. So I think I see this now in but it's not embedded actually, but companies are working with third parties to do this now. So right. I took my daughter to the dentist last week, and they've got options where, hey, insurance doesn't cover everything, right? So they had options there through third parties that would allow them to finance whatever procedure or service that they needed done on that specific day.
Brad, that's exactly right. That's where the industry's headed. That's where basically the future of capital lies. But I think the biggest thing there is you're not going to use a third party. You're going to use Cygnus.
Exactly.
So everything is just included into an ecosystem that will be there for the merchant that can handle all their needs.
Awesome, Steve. This has been a great conversation. So let's recap a little bit. We've got Cygnus Capital. It's launching soon. We've got three main pillars there, right? So we've got the hardware as a service. We've got the MCAs, the merchant cash advances, and then we've got the embedded finance solutions.
Excellent. Yep, that's exactly right. And the goal is simple: to give our merchants the ability to grow, the ability to reinvest in their own business in a frictionless environment, and to scale without the barrier of needing to have the upfront capital to launch what they need to launch. And repayment, and this is the most important part, repayment based on their volume of sales.
Yeah, you mentioned the friction, right? Nobody likes friction in a high, especially in a high-paced environment. Yeah. So we're reducing the friction, we're making financing smarter, and we're building for the future.
Yep, this is just the beginning. Capital is the next step in our mission to empower businesses with the tools they need to thrive. Again, coming over to that fintech ecosystem away from just a payments model. And we're on that journey.
Thanks for listening, everyone. That wraps it up for today. I'm Brad.
And I am Steve, and we will be doing this podcast once a month. And next time, we'll see you on this podcast. Remember, a shift to fintech, the Cygnus Podcast. So we look forward to seeing you again.